And hello, everybody. You're very welcome to an actual real on location from RSA conference. This is Sean Martin, host of the Redefining Cybersecurity podcast on ITSP magazine. And Mark and I are here in San Francisco getting to talk about all kinds of cool things, cyber in relation to the business. I think the theme this year is the art of possible. And I think we're seeing a lot of shift in how executives and organizations are viewing technology and cybersecurity more specifically to help them achieve better things with their businesses. And I'm thrilled to have Nanhi Singh on with me today. Nanhi, it's good to have you back again.
It's great to be here.
Yes, and hopefully a good week in San Francisco brewing for you. I'm sure a lot of great conversations with executives and practitioners, all things data. Or Imperva, of course, securing that data wherever it lives. And for those who haven't heard our other chat, where I think Marco joined us, if I'm not mistaken, a few words about what you're up to now at Imperva.
So I have recently taken on the role of GM for the application security business of Imperva. And it's been a whirlwind, and it has actually been already a very busy morning here at RSA, meeting with several CISOs. And I've actually also had the opportunity to meet with some CIOs as well. So I think there is a shift that is happening, and there is some energy that you can feel here at RSA, that I think is quite different from what we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, I would concur, even just the bit of time that we've been rolling around here. And I'd like that you mention the CIO conversation you're having as well, because I'm also hearing that as I talk to folks out and about, that organizations, CIO, CTO, COO, CSO, they're trying to figure out how to do things better for the business, right? Kind of redefining how they interact with each other and achieve better things.
I think what happened with the whole discussion around the digital transformation is that it really accelerated during the pandemic, and companies were forced to become digital. Even if you look at how our experience changed in terms of going to a restaurant, you almost now never see a paper menu. You pull out your phone and you scan a QR code and you look at a menu on your phone. And what that phone is doing is making an API call to a backend that is presenting that menu. And when you make your selection, that is then again connecting to another backend that is probably conducting a digital banking transaction. And so now every business is a technology business. And so CIOs care about that digital experience, and they have to make sure that that digital experience is secure. And that's where the CISO comes in. And if you're a publicly traded company, which a lot of our customers at Imperva and Thales are, then you are accountable to the board, and security is now a board level discussion.
And so for the conversations that you're hearing, I think it's easy as certainly me as a security person to lean in on security to start. Here's how we identify the risk. Here's how we put controls to mitigate the risk. And ultimately that sets up a series of no's. You can't do that, right? Responses to potential opportunities the business puts forth. So I'm wondering how have those conversations changed, if they have changed, to CIOs saying, here's how we need to present our data as we build our apps, but to do so in a way that's more secure.
Yeah, so I think CIOs are definitely talking about the customer experience, and CISOs are recognizing that they have to be business enablers and not just the people who say no. But at the same time, they are accountable to the company for the risks that they secure against. So it has to be a very informed decision on what must be protected, and how does that protection happen without getting in the way of doing business. So I think the conversations have shifted from just being, CIO says, no, you can't do this, to here's how you can do this. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about how they are strategizing their application environment. Because you mentioned an application for a menu application that feeds data to it, and a purchasing piece that's calling another API that supports that piece of the process. So it's not just building an app from end to end. It's building an app using commercial services, open source pieces, a lot of these interfaces that some of them you don't have control over in terms of what they're doing on their end necessarily. So you have to understand that whole view. So how do organizations kind of get their hands wrapped around that as they're building their apps?
Yeah, I think organizations are struggling to get their arms around everything right now. I think that we have very distributed environments in most companies, especially large enterprises, are either halfway to the cloud or almost all the way to the cloud, and then maybe thinking that they need to pull back and put some things on-prem. So there's a combination of hybrid, on-prem, cloud native versus just a lift and shift of applications. So there's a whole mix of things. But what is common in all of these is how they're all connected, and it's through APIs. So there is a proliferation of APIs in this, very distributed environment where companies are at different stages of their app modernization journey. Some of them are, they're talking about being in the cloud, but they really haven't taken advantage of the, real cloud environments and its elasticity and so on. They've just moved applications to the cloud and they're just managing it there. Whereas there are others who've built applications that are cloud native or are somewhere in the middle of it. But really what's common amongst all of them is the heavy use of APIs to make everything work.
And in terms of, because you kind of touched on here, right? Multiple clouds, certainly companies acquire other companies and buy off the shelf stuff that only works in certain environments and things like that as well. So how do they navigate how they build their applications to support these different environments, different cloud service providers, different container environments, different maturity levels in terms of the apps? Sometimes they build their own API services. They use shared services in their own company. Sometimes they outsource some of that.
Yeah, I think we had recently released our API security report, and there is a statistic in there about 46% of API developers conceive, implement, and test and deliver API to production in 1 week. So I think that is telling in that was security top of mind when they were building that, right? So I think API security is really key right now. And the Imperva API security, as an example, is a solution that helps you, discover all the APIs that are out there, because a lot of our customers actually don't even know what's out there.
Yeah, visibility. Of course, you have to have an idea of what's going on. So how does that piece work? How do organizations embrace that to get that view of what's happening?
I think how organizations are embracing that takes it back to the first point I made about this is a board level discussion. So I think board members are also very familiar now of attacks that have happened through APIs. And so they ask the question. They ask, are you sure we're secure? Right? And the CISO's got to have an answer for that. So API threats are top of mind. I definitely hear about that at every customer meeting I'm at. Everyone is talking about, what can we do that we haven't done already to secure against API-driven threats.
And I would imagine they are vulnerable to things and they don't know it until they have this view. And is it specific threats and attacks that they're worried about, depending on industry or sector? Or is it just that we don't know and we need the help to get that big picture?
Yeah. I think threats are different by different sectors. So, for instance, we have a lot of customers who are in the hospitality and the travel industry, and we see that they are in particular under attack by persistent bots, really advanced bots that are targeting their sites and their APIs. So it does differ by industry, but I think bots, which is now again almost 50% of internet traffic is bots, and about 30% is bad bots. So it's bad actors really going after doing something that either takes down the business or steals data or steals important assets of the company. So yeah, it does differ by industry, but the solutions to prevent these attacks are pretty similar.
Let's talk a bit about that. How does an organization, I don't know, maybe what's the first step they take? I think we talked a little bit about visibility. Maybe that is the first step, but how do organizations work with Imperva to kind of get the visibility to an identification of here's how we move forward with this to gain some control that we can then report back and say we're making some progress on this?
Absolutely. So with the acquisition of Imperva by Thales, I think that we now have a really very well-rounded and complete portfolio. So the Imperva side brought application security, which includes, the WAF that we are most famous for, our API security, our advanced bot protection solutions, and then our data security, which was really around database access monitoring and data risk analytics. But what the Thales side had already and has been a leader in for a while is all of the encryption and key management and HSMs. And then with an acquisition that they made prior to the acquisition of Imperva, the identity and access management solutions. So I think that it's about, you said about protecting data, and we've always said at Imperva, it's about protecting data and all paths to it. And those paths come through applications and they come through identities. And with this complete portfolio now with the IAM solutions and the application security, and then our data security solutions that give access to, who's been accessing the data, give visibility into that. So I think that we are now able to come to our customers with a complete portfolio of offerings.
I love it. Because you mentioned the bots, which obviously those are applications pretending to be humans sometimes, but a lot of times they're working on behalf of companies in a positive way. How does that connect to the API piece? Because I'm thinking about those are clearly machine entities or identities in some cases, right?
Yeah.
So we want to build applications that have some of that where we're not trying to keep the human in the middle and may slow things down. So we build machine to machine, application to application things to kind of speed things up, make decisions on our behalf.
Right.
So how does that picture look?
So what it looks like is actually that most of the traffic on the internet is actually API driven now, right? It's the machine to machine thing. And APIs are most of the time, not able to actually tell the difference between the bot and the human. And so a lot of APIs are being compromised by bots. And that is really where the bad bots are focusing on right now. Okay. So that's kind of what it looks like is everything is automated and a lot of it is bad bots.
So how does Imperva help overcome some of that? I'm presuming a bit of identity stuff in there, the API security. How does that work?
So we have a really good advanced bot protection solution. And a lot of our customers who are most susceptible to bot attacks are using our advanced bot protection solution. And we have always taken great pride in our security efficacy. I think that over and above everything else, different from some of our competitors who focus on other things, we have always been a security company. One of the things that we are really proud of is that on our cloud WAF solution, more than 90% of our customers are using us in blocking mode and without exceptions to policies, right? And that's the level of trust in our security. We carry that same efficacy focus on ABP as well, on advanced bot protection. And one of the ways in which we do that is a combination of obviously the product, right, which does a great job, but also a team of security analyst services who work with our customers on the most difficult bot attacks. And then we fine tune based on what we learn as we fight those bad actors building these bad bots, and they are continually evolving them to try and, get past all the controls that we are putting in. So our security analyst services team works with our product team to very quickly make those adjustments. Very similar to how on the WAF side, we have a really good threat research team who work on, using machine learning, understanding what kinds of threats are evolving and making those changes really quickly to our rules that protect our customers out of the box. The customers don't need to do anything there. They're already protected.
Yeah. And this is, for me anyway, super important. So I want to make sure everybody who's listening hones in on what Nanhi just said, because it's about being able to scale, right? But not at the expense of accuracy.
Yes.
And not at the expense of leaving. So you don't want to be too controlled and you don't want to be too loose. You want to have that nice mix. And that's only possible when you have the knowledge for how to tune the rules and the settings and the protection capabilities supplemented with really smart people. And 90% is a huge number. This is the point I wanted people to hone in on is think about putting protections in place where you're relying and trusting. I don't think many people can do that for a lot of solutions out there. So 90% is huge. And I think that's an important piece because that, as a security team, takes a lot of angst off the team for how to deal with a lot of stuff. If you're more focused on what really matters with the support of Imperva to kind of help fine tune those last little bits, I think much better shape.
Absolutely. And I think another thing a lot of our CISOs customers tell us is that their teams are stretched too thin.
Oh.
So, and increasingly they have, cost reductions that impact their teams. So they need our solutions to be really efficient and helping them with their operational efficiency so that they can focus on the stuff that, really matters and leave the rest to companies like Imperva.
Yeah. Making their food and selling it. At that portal. Nanhi, is there anything else you think organizations should know before we wrap here? Anything they might not be thinking about that you want maybe to shed some light on for it?
So I think the only thing I will say that we haven't talked about already kind of goes back to, we talked about the distributed environments and how applications are everywhere, right? On multiple different cloud service providers, on-prem, and some are containerized applications, some are just the typical lift and shift. I think what's really important is that we at Imperva believe that we need to secure applications anywhere. And that is a key part of our strategy, is about protecting applications and APIs anywhere. So customers can choose to deploy them where they choose to deploy them, but they can have the same security efficacy that they've learned to trust available no matter where their applications are deployed.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Nanhi, thank you so much for this chat. And I hope everybody listening picked up a few points to look differently at how they secure their applications, secure their APIs, and build a business process that enables business growth and allows revenue to be generated in a safe and secure fashion. So, Nanhi, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sean. Great to speak with you.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll do more of that as well. And more coming from Imperva at RSA conference. So stay tuned for that. And please do follow all of our coverage here at RSA. And thanks everybody for listening.